Hello, good morning. I hope everyone had a fantastic Christmas and all my best wishes for 2023. Hope at least some of your dreams and aspirations transpire. Most of all though, I wish you, your family and friends health and happiness. Super excited about today. I'm just riding across the live firing ranges of Imber high up on Salisbury Plain. This road is normally forbidden to the public because it is a live firing range. Several days a year, 4 over New Year actually, so a very limited window of opportunity. It's open to public, but you must abide by quite strict rules. You mustn't leave the main road whatsoever. And you may see there's some wooden observation towers there. And as we go along here, towards the ghost town of Imber in a few miles, you'll see old carcasses, rusting tanks, and they're targets. You know, they're not tourist attractions, they're actually live foreign targets. And then as you drop down into a little dip, there's the ghost town of Imber. So the backstory behind that then, it was a very isolated rural village on Salisbury Plain, and in 1943 the inhabitants were evacuated so as the American army could prepare there for the D-Day landings and the eventual liberation of Western Europe. And then after the war, the inhabitants were never allowed back. And as I sort of said, this is a live firing range. The public are normally banned access along here. There are a couple of original buildings down there. Off the top of my head, I think it's an old hotel, and also St Giles Church. I think it's 16th century, and I believe it's Grade 2 listed. And there's also these modern concrete streets, like empty shells of houses, and they're used by the army for, you know, practicing urban warfare. So again, you mustn't go anywhere near those because there's going to be loads of spent ordnance around. You know, the probability is some of that's going to be unexploded. So it's in your own interest to follow the rules. Lovely day today. It's quite bleak and it can be hostile up here, but today's actually quite evocative and it's actually quite a nice sunny January day. And the St Giles Church holds a couple of services every year. I think there's one at Easter and then there's a carol service. And they ferry worshippers from Warminster Station back the way I've just come, actually that way a few miles. And they ferry them in Routemaster buses down to the church and then back to Warminster Station afterwards. Red London double-decker buses, that is quite a sight to behold. I've seen it a couple of times. Just go on the internet, Google it, and you'll see pictures of it, you know, fleets of them coming across. It's quite bizarre actually, it's quite an experience. Anyway, I'm heading that way towards Imber, hopefully going to church if it's open, and then I'll be not coming back this way. There's an Imber range path that goes right around the ranges, and that is pretty much open all year round. I'll be heading back to Earlstoke and Westbury, eventually back to Bath that way. In the meantime, I'm now about half a mile past those observation towers and we've just passed the carcasses of the tanks on the left. I remember seeing those before, but I've never seen the ones on the right hand side. It looks like there's quite a few over there, but I can't really film because the cameras be facing right into the sun. I don't remember them being there before, they may have, I don't know. You're now starting to drop down off that little rise down towards the village of Imber itself. You'll see every couple of 100 yards there's these signs clearly telling you to stay on the main road and don't leave it whatsoever, both sides as well. Oh, this is wonderful. We're rapidly approaching the ghost town of Imber. Drop down and I'm now just entering the old village of Imber. You'll see 1 or 2 buildings there. I think the rule of thumb is the old brick buildings are the remains of what's left of the original village, farmhouses, like I said, a hotel, that sort of thing. And then along here you'll see all the rather sinister looking concrete shelves I was trying to describe earlier on. Oh, facing right in the sun, typical. That's where the army do their warfare training, urban warfare clearance. try and get some non-sun bleach shot of that later on. And then round the corner a bit further is, I guess, the old village itself. I can just see the church spire coming in. Apologies, I'm facing directly in the sun. Not complaining on the 2nd of January for it to be a nice sunny day, but it's just making the filming a little bit bleached. Yeah, there's a few cars there, tourists, walkers. See if I can get a better shot of the military training buildings. See what I mean? They look quite sinister, don't they? And then I'm going to pull down here, head up to St Giles Church. Quite a few of them, as you can see. Get all sorts across here. Look, there's some kit cars. Seen quite a few mountain bikers, a couple of road bikers, walkers, a few cars. There's quite a few cars here. So this is where I'm going to pull in. Oh, the church is open. Wonderful. Up here. Here's a little side-on view then, out of the sun, and there's a welcome to Imber. So just reiterating the rules, as I said, it's for your own safety. Danger, unexploded ordnance do not touch. Disused tank holes are targets, not playgrounds. Please do not enter any military training building. Stick to the green designated routes. And there's like a little aerial bird's eye view. This is the training area, and there's Imber, and this is the main road I've come across. I'll be heading out towards Gore Cross. Then can you see there's a very acute angle there, and I'll follow the Imber path around there back almost to Westbury before I then head north to Bath. Anyway, for now, up to St Giles Church. Just a reminder of the short window of opportunity here, the church and the road, the access to it. Friday, December the 30th through to Monday the 2nd of January. Oh look, there's the Imber War Memorial to the people lost in the 1914-18 war. Just stop here and pay my respects on one wounded at the bottom. Over the Christmas we were listening to the news, and on the BBC regional news Points West they mentioned Imber, so you know my ears pricked up and I listened, and it was saying very likely the last funeral is going to be held here, whether it's already happened or not, or it's coming up soon, I'm not sure. And it was saying the military will allow anyone who's born here to be buried here, and they believe this is the last person who's just passed away, so this could possibly be the last funeral here. Anyway, facing directly in the sun as we head up towards St Giles Church. Leave my bike there, just dug out a little bit of money, want to get some souvenirs. They're always very welcoming here. Yes, it's probably one of the only reasons the public still get access to the Rangers, to be honest, is because of this church. Now climbed out of the village of Imber, back up on high ground, heading eastwards, right down in that clump of trees there. You may just make out the church. Not a lot of other evidence of habitation. Up here is more woody, and there's definitely agriculture and livestock up there, you can see. So what access farmers have, I don't know. So I'm heading the way that cyclist is going, down towards the main Marlborough to Salisbury road. Just before I get to it, I'll do a very acute sharp turn and then come back round along the top of that hill. That's the Imber Range perimeter path, and then that'll drop me not far from Westbury White Horse, actually, back down on the northern slopes of these downs. Then I'll head north back up to Bath. Now on this lovely section heading down towards the eastern boundary of the ranges. There'll be an unmanned guard post in the barrier there at the moment. Just before you get to the main road, there's a few houses, and then, as I said, a very sharp left-hand turn which will take me back over that way. But I just love this section along here, actually. This is amazing. I'm heading towards the main road from Marlborough down towards Salisbury. You wouldn't think anything could cut across here. That in itself is quite bleak on a bicycle. It's not a road you would want to be on in bad weather, that's for sure. And this is even more of a minor road heading off of that. Just makes you realise just how isolated this place was. I read in the church, amongst all the noise and the hustle and bustle, that Imber was 7 miles from the nearest real habitation, the nearest village or town. So it just shows you how isolated it was. You can see there's normally an army military post there, which would stop people, unauthorised people coming across. Heading out towards Gore Cross. I bet that's bleak being stationed there on a cold, wild winter day. Better put the camera away. I'm just about to do a little bit of narrow road with some traffic coming along. I've just come in that way. It's starting to get really quite busy, the road, so I think I've sort of timed it quite well. So that road joins that main road right to left, the A something or other. I'll put it on the screen now. As I said, just before I get there, I'm going to take this sharp left hand turn, and this is what takes me up around the perimeter. Most of this is metalled. There's about half a mile, 3/4 of a mile maybe, which is gravel. Well, you guessed it, it looks like a Citroen rally coming across there. Nice little beep and a wave. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. This is only part of it. It took me about a minute or so to get the camera out. Oh yeah. It's great. Climbed a few hundred feet and I'm up on this sort of like edge of this ridge here, looking northwards, northwestwards it would be. That's the line of the Marlborough Downs there, the Wiltshire Downs. So between here and there, there's a dip. That would be the Vale of Pewsey. You see how bleak it is up here. Really nice. I came up here one December, soon after Christmas actually, to Wild Camp up here. I won't say where it was. It wasn't on the left hand side because that's still forbidden access over there. This is a little bit more open. And also, during whatever year it was, the first year of COVID, the restrictions had been lifted gradually over Christmas to allow people to see family, but it's still limited, I think, how many people could meet up even outdoors. And the police were up here taking the names and numbers of quite a few motorcyclists who had gathered up here. That springs to mind actually. That Citroen rally that just went by, I guess that took about 5 minutes all told, to go by. And it reminds me of a Citroen rally I saw when I cycled across America. It was actually in New Mexico on a weekday, I think, and they were just touring around the states, and this is high up on the Continental Divide, so they must have sort of done some serious climbing and then descending. So just as that sticks in my mind, I'm pretty sure this one will. I'm now on about 1/2 to 3/4 of a mile of the unsurfaced track between two bits of tarmac. It's pretty rideable. It can be a bit bumpy, potholey, flooded with water sometimes, occasionally very muddy. This is a lot drier than I expected to be after the last few days. And then it would turn back into tarmac shortly, and then just before it becomes unsurfaced again, we turn off sharp right and plunge down off this shelf. It's quite steep actually going down, and also it can be a bit treacherous because there's a lot of tree coverage, canopy, and you get a lot of sap on the ground, and it just makes it really like a highly polished floor, quite treacherous at times. So I'll be taking that quite cautiously down here. So Imber would be over there on my left, down in the dip, and this is all military MOD land, ranges, or the boundary of it, so no access over there whatsoever. A little bit more lenient this side, people tend to sort of walk, but again a lot of it is agricultural or farmland, so what I would say is just follow the countryside code. I'm now back on tarmac, been back on tarmac probably where that car has just passed me is now. It's looking across at the Wiltshire Downs. You won't see it from here, but I've spotted 3 of the white horses over there. In the very far distance I just caught Pusey white horse, there's Alton Barnes white horse, and because I know what I'm looking for, I can see Devise's new white horse. And then here where that mountain biker is, we're about to do a very sharp right hand turn and then drop down steeply down to that low ground there. If I was to carry along here, it would bear left, and to give you an idea of the geography, that would take you along to Westbury White Horse. So you've got all the white horses over there, and then you've got one this side facing them. When I do take that steep drop, that's the one I sort of said can be treacherously slippery, not even in ice, in normal sort of just wet weather. So caution needed down there. You may see in the far distance conurbation, lots of white buildings and factories. That's sort of Trowbridge, and that's pretty much what I'm sort of heading for, and I'm going to skirt round there and then head back to Bath. But before that, I'm really peckish. I've got some sandwiches and some sweets on me and a mince pie as well, so I'm going to find a bus shelter somewhere and dive in there and have some lunch. I've stopped at the bus shelter in the village of Erdington, just below the big ridge. So right behind me, behind this bus shelter, would be the ridge that I've just dropped down off. I just joined the main Westbury road along here. Westbury's in that direction, but I'm just about to head down there on some minor roads, skirt round the edge of Trowbridge and head home. This is one of those lovely community bus shelters turned into a like micro library. And it does say quite clearly, please only leave books, DVDs, and in good condition. It's not a recycling centre or a dumping ground. Just stopped to have my sandwiches. I've got hummus which has gone quite messy, I needed to use it up, and I've got my last Sainsbury's mince pie from Christmas actually ready for this, and then I'll be heading home. You can see by the blue sky, it's absolutely a lovely, lovely day. I'm really so glad in hindsight that I did delay coming out yesterday and waited. Now on these quiet roads, heading towards the outskirts of Trowbridge, and then I'll make my way round to Bath through Holt. That's looking back at the big plateau of Salisbury Plain. So that's the bit I came from. That would be the northern ledge facing the Wiltshire Downs across that way. I was much further over that way, so I dropped down that somewhere. As I said when I was up there, if I'd carried on, it would have gone along there, and that's where the shelf and the cutting of the Westbury white horses along there, and then they sort of dissipate just past Westbury. Going to go through the village of Keevil shortly. There's Keevil airfield down there. It was an old Second World War airfield, and some gliders took off there to go over to do the Operation Market Garden Arnhem landings. In fact, right up there, talking about gliders, if I can zoom in, there's one up there. I think they still use that airfield for gliding. I do know sometimes in September, I don't know if it's every September, but parachutists come along and do parachute drops there to pay respects, because obviously Arnhem was such a big airborne operation, didn't just all go from one airfield. I believe they dispersed from all over the south of England and then converged over Belgium. Anyway, onwards that way. I'm cutting around the outskirts of the main town of Trowbridge. This is Hilperton down to Staverton, where I get onto minor roads. Always expect the unexpected. I've ridden by here so many times. This is quite new. I'm just going to go and have a look and see what it says. Trowbridge's premier tourist attraction, the Angel of Trowbridge. The Angel of Trowbridge, the eternal spiritual guardian and protector of the town of Trowbridge and its people. There's a bit here that sort of struck a chord with me. Think for yourself, create your own reality, be master of yourself. Stop allowing others to influence, manipulate and control you. Fear-based cultures produce conditioned, compliant and conforming citizens. Well, a little blast down memory lane. When I first started time trialling, I guess in my early 20s, this was part of one of the routes. The main route used to go along there on the main road. You couldn't do it now because there's too many bypasses and traffic lights, etc. But sometimes they used to do this 2-up time trial down here. And talk about place style memories. I got a vivid memory of coming across a couple. I can see them now. I just can't remember what their names were. And that was in the early days of helmet adoption by cyclists. And these weren't safety helmets. They were like pear-shaped, not much more than an eggshell. It was for aerodynamics. And either he or she had come off and there was just a pool of blood in the bottom of it. I remember being quite shocked by that. I was a first aider in those days, so I just feel if you've been trained in first aid, you've got sort of like a moral obligation to stop and assist. I think it was alright. It wasn't serious in the end. It's one of those ones that looked worse than it was. Oh gosh, there's a little cave there. I haven't spotted that, like a little grotto. Without trespassing, I'm just going to pop in and see what's in there. Can I get in there? I'd love to be a fly on the wall in there. That is someone's property, so I'm not going to go any further. The reason I really wanted to document that is I don't know how long it's been there, and I don't know how long it will be there. Hopefully a long time, but you just never know. There used to be a Buddhist temple right next to a Methodist church in the village of Carlingcott on the outskirts of Bath and Timsbury, and it went, and I remember I used to cycle out there of an evening. My friend Mike, in fact the guy that said hello to me on my last video actually lived out there. I'd sometimes go out there to see him or just ride through anyway. And there was always these, it was before LED lights, they had these like little coloured glass candles, coloured glass candle holders. And in the winter it was just lovely sort of seeing this like two lines of coloured lights up to this Buddhist temple. The story briefly was this soldier had got really injured in his foot, and then he was semi-crippled, and he went and became a Buddhist monk, and he did like the elite training to be a Buddhist monk. I can't tell you what it entailed, but it was pretty intense. Then he came back and opened this Buddhist temple. And I don't think I've got any pictures of it anywhere. I just never had a camera on me at the time. I just so wish I had some memories of that. I googled it once and I just figured, look, everything's on the internet. Someone somewhere would have taken some pictures. And there's a couple of vague references and a couple of blurry photographs, but nothing that ever did it justice. So yeah, hence wanting to stop here and document. Change o' plan. I've just dropped down over I think this is the Avon here at Staverton. It's prone to flooding. Let me give you an idea of how high it's running. I was going to say to you, it's quite often these fields flood here and this road gets closed. Guess what? It's closed. Wow, so blue and green, especially in this late afternoon sun. Wow. Good for the wildlife. I was going to say, it looks like you might be able to get round. I wouldn't anyway, because they've clearly closed the road. But you can't. Can you see how flooded it is up there? That really is a serious flood. So I was going to carry out, zoom around here and go up there and then take the roads back that way, which I'm still going to do, but I'm going to take this horrible drag up here. It really is. It's a grind. It's one of those hills that feels harder than it should. You see the people putting so much effort in, getting nothing back. Wow, that almost looks like a causeway, didn't it, coming across there? Well, it is in face, isn't it? So yeah, I'm going to go up there, head along there, and then where those houses are, I'll take minor roads there. This is a nice gradual way up normally. This is just where you can see there's a lot of traffic. It's straight and unforgiving. Anyway, yeah, this is fantastic. Not quite sure what that corner there is all about. It's behind barbed wire and it looks like it's very close to getting waterlogged and flooded. It's now 3:45 and I've just climbed up through a network of lanes through the lovely village of Monkton Farley, and I'm now about to join the Bradford-on-Avon, which is that way road over here. This is about the summit where I'll be joining it, and then it's downhill to Bath Ford just as the sun's about to set. Gorgeous January crisp sort of afternoon, and I'm just looking back at where I've been. Those hills, as so often happens at dawn or dusk, just become really crisp. See if I can zoom in without too much camera shake. So that's really that ridge I was on. And then you may see a lot of sort of built up area. That would be Trowbridge, I believe. I've sort of skirted around the edge of that. But yeah, that is almost like three-dimensional coming to life because the sun's hitting it from, what's that, 180 degrees. Lovely evening. I think it's going to get cold very, very quick tonight, so I'm quite looking forward to getting home. I've got a pizza and I've got some lager in the fridge. So my first bicycle ride, 2023. I did some running on the treadmill yesterday as part of my Red January 2023, so just a quick refresh on that. People who've followed me before know that I do that every year. It's just to encourage people to do exercise every day of the month of January. So it stands for run every day, but you know, it can be ride, row, you know, I do a lot of it indoors. People quite often get like the post-Christmas blues, don't they? The January winter blues. I mean, nobody's 100% immune for that. And I just know for me, it just keeps me really vitalised. For somebody like me who wants to do long distance cycling and Audax, you know, once the weather gets warm, it's just a superb base really. And yeah, of course, there's some days I just don't feel like it, because you've set yourself this little goal, it sort of steers you towards it. I mark it on my calendar, but I look at it every week and think, oh, I'm quarter of the way through, halfway through, 3/4 of the way through. You know, the closer you get to the finish, the more you've got to lose just by dropping a day. Anyway, and I don't register anything like that. All I do is I get to the end of January and I just send them a donation for £31, because, you know, 31 days in January, and I feel I've benefited it really massively through it. And so I make a donation So that's what I'll be doing during January. Coming up, I'm hoping to find a couple of dry nights where I can do my Roman hot tent camp. That'll be coming up either in January or February. Got a few little ideas. I actually had one today actually. I won't go into that in this video, but I think I've got another little objective for later in the year. I'm just loving this. Once I join that main road, it's very, very fast downhill. I hope you've enjoyed coming along with me. I was going to wind the video up soon after lunch actually, but I just kept seeing things like the citrons, and then just so many sort of things. There was that museum tourist attraction coming into Trowbridge, and then Keevil Airfield I want to show you, and just so many things. It just shows, doesn't it, you come out to look at one thing and so many other little surprises turn up as well. Once again, I wish everybody a happy new year. I'll catch you soon. In the meantime, look out for each other. Bye for now.